First question, Vicente. 2 fights in 2020 with 2 KO finishes. How satisfied were you with this year?
Oh man, I was really satisfied. 2020 was a hard year for everybody. So to be able to get out there, do what I do, fighting is what I love to do. And I got to do it 2 times last year. So I think it was better than I could expect, considering everything with COVID and everything. So overall, it's not the amount of fights I want to have. I would love to have maybe 3 or 4 fights. That's what I really like to have every year. But overall, I think it was a good year for me, for sure.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And you just touched on then about COVID. You were on the first card that after the UFC when it brought back COVID, the UFC 249 against Niko Price. How satisfied were you with that to bring sports back after the start of the pandemic?
I think it was an awesome event, an awesome, move by the UFC. They had a great organization. They, took all the everything that kind of securities that you needed to do to have an event like that. They did it, and I mean now we see the UFC had a full active year in 2020. No fighters got contaminated after fights. They always, if somebody was contaminated, they found it out before the fights and were able, to take the measures they needed to. So I think it was an honor to be part of that event, to be, bring sports back in the middle of the pandemic, because it was the first sports back. So for me, it was exciting, to just bring action to everybody at home. That's what I love doing. And I think I did it. That fight with Niko Price was really exciting. I think was one of the best of the year. And, I had a lot of fun.
And from this year, you've obviously had 2 victories, as we've just mentioned. The third round TKO over Niko Price and the second round knockout over Randy Brown. Which of them 2 victories are you more happy with? Which is the one that stands out of the 2?
It's hard to pick. Fights like the one I had with Niko Price are really exciting for me as a fighter. I love getting into brawls like that. And I don't know, I just have fun in fights like that. But as when I look to where I want to get in the sport, I want to be a champion. I want to be a dominant champion. I think the fight against Randy Brown showcased how I can improve my skill. And I fought a guy, Randy Brown is really tall. He has huge reach. He's a great boxer. And I was able to go out there and dominate the fight, control the jab. Even though he had the reach on me, I was able to connect good jabs and I avoid getting jabbed by him. Also connected some really good kicks. So I think that fight for me is a little bit more special because it shows kind of like what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming to be, a more technical fighter. I know that I have the action that I need to make fights fun, but I also have the skill. I also have, the technique to go out there and dominate my opponents, and that's what I'm looking to do. I think that at this point I'm number 10 right now in the ranking, so it's time, to not only have fun in the fights and look to improve inside the division and get all the way to the top.
You touched on something there that was a question I wanted to ask, but a little bit later, but I'll ask it now. With 12 UFC wins, 11 of them victories have been stoppages. Are you the most entertaining fighter in the UFC?
I believe so. I definitely am up there with the at least top 3 more entertaining fighters. I mean, it's just my style, whenever I get in there. I think I had one fight where I took the fight to the ground. It was against Alvaro Herrera. That was maybe 2016, I believe. And even that fight, when I took it to the ground, I thought in my mind, I got to make it exciting. So I'm going to ground and pound. I'm going to do something for this fight to be exciting. It's just the way I fight. I never want to be booed. I never want to be the guy that is going to do the boring fight. I grew up watching MMA. Before I got to the UFC, I watched a lot of MMA. And I always was kind of like, when I saw a fight that was being booed, I always thought like, man, those guys must feel bad, they're fighting in front of all these people and nobody's liking the fight. So I never wanted to be that guy. I wanted to know that I'm bringing excitement to all the fans. and that's what I do. It's just in me. It's not something I go out there and try to get these finishes. I fight aggressive. I put all that I have on the line, and it pays off for me. I get good finishes, and people enjoy my style.
Yeah. Can I just ask, have you ever been booed at all? Because looking at your career now, that almost seems impossible.
One fight, I mean, I was booed, I think, when I went fight against what's his name, Barberina, but when I was entering, because we were at his hometown,
Yeah.
so I was booed at that moment. But during the fight, no way.
Yeah.
And when I fought in Uruguay against Mike Perry, I believe in the third round, when once he got me in the cage, they booed us, but he was holding me in the cage.
Yeah.
So, I think they were booing because they wanted more action. But it was an action-packed fight. We were just taking a break, just breathing a little bit to bring the action back again.
Yeah, 100%. And something you just mentioned then, you are the number 10 ranked UFC welterweight. And looking at your last two fights, you fought people who aren't ranked, people below you in the rankings. Do you now want to move up to them, maybe them top fives, or just below that, the top 6 to 10 range, and maybe start climbing that ladder to the belt?
Yeah, for sure. That's my goal. I'm looking somebody in the top 10. I think I mean, I have 12 wins. I've been, looking good in the UFC. I've been out there and doing, I mean, what the UFC loves. I don't only win, but I bring the best fights I
Yeah,
can. Whenever I'm in the card, know that at least one fight is going to be exciting that night. So I think it makes sense right now for me to fight, a top guy, and I believe I'm going to get that fight. I'm being patient. I wanted to fight December, but it didn't work out. A lot of guys that were in the top 10 already were scheduled to fight. We had Chiesa against Magny right now. We
yeah,
had Leon Edwards against Chimaev. That was supposed to happen, never happened. Hopefully it's going to happen now.
yeah.
So I had to be a little bit patient, and I'm waiting for my moment, but I believe I'm going to get a good fight. And definitely I want to maybe fight March, something like that. That's the time frame I'm looking for. And we're pushing for a top 10 for sure.
Is there a specific name out there that you want next?
Many names. If I could pick one name, like the perfect guy that I would like to fight, Masvidal, that would be the number one pick for
Yeah,
sure. I think just his style and my style would match up perfect. It would be fight of the night. I mean, that's the kind of fight that I know that if I go in there, even if I have the opportunity to take him down, I'm not gonna take him down because I want to strike with him. I want it to be, that really fight of the night bonus. So that would be like the perfect pick. But right now, I don't think he would take this fight. He's looking to fight above, people that are up there. But we never know. I think Woodley is a good name. I
yeah.
think Chiesa is another good name. He wants to fight Kobe, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. So any of these names I think would really make sense and would boost me up to the division, to the top of the division.
Yeah, I think the two names that you mentioned there, in my opinion, do make the most sense. Woodley ranked at number 6, and Chiesa, I believe, now ranked at number 8. So that would be a step up in the right direction, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. They would definitely be interesting fights for me.
Can I ask? We just mentioned earlier you've had 12 UFC wins and 11 by stoppage. Is there a favourite win in your UFC career for you?
Man, I got many, but Barberina is special because that fight was a fight where uh, I started off really good. I thought I was gonna get a first round knockout, but Barberina could take everything I was putting on him. I connected some hard shots and he just took it, and he dropped me. That's the first time I've ever been dropped in training or in a fight. It was fighting Barberina. So once he dropped me, I took his back. I thought I was going to submit him. I didn't submit him. Once that round was finished, my arms were just like stiff from so much strength I did on that rear naked choke. So I was like, man, this fight is going to be tough. I was out here planning to knock this guy out in the first round. It didn't work out, but let's keep on going. Let's see what's going to happen. And once I get into the second round, I'm still kind of like stiff armed, so I'm not, with a lot of reaction on my punches. So Barberena took advantage of that. He just came on with all he had, trying to knock me out. I was taking the punishment and trying to bring to put the punishment back on him. And eventually, I don't think I took that second round. I lost that round. We went to a third round. It was a really tight third round. I wasn't sure who was going to take that fight on the points. So I knew on my mind I need to knock this guy out. Otherwise, I'm not going to take this fight. And 6 seconds to finish the fight, I got the knockout. So for me, that's a special one because I know that it took all my heart to win that fight, and it was a great feeling. After that, I got a lot of positive messages from everybody. Everybody was like, "Man, you got what it takes to go in there and take that amount of damage and anyway pull back, pull through all that and get the win."
Yeah, 100%. Can I give you my favorite victory of yours?
Yes, for sure.
My favorite victory of your career is the Belal Muhammad fight for me. UFC 205, I remember that fight. I remember actually looking at where Belal is now. Belal, I believe, is 13 or 14, so that victory looks really good on your record now. And then I think it's just the way he falls as you hit him, but I believe it's a left hook, if memory serves.
Yes, that's it. A left hook. Right when he hits me with an overhand, I block it, and I hit him with the same left hook. Yeah.
And it's just the way
that's a good win too. Perfect. I mean, I thought it was really technical how I started that fight, and I took that fight 2 weeks notice, so wasn't an easy weight cut, but I don't know. I just felt like I always want to fight in the cards that Conor McGregor is. So I felt like that's going to be the first opportunity I have to fight in New York, first card in New York, first card that I'm going to be fighting, and Conor McGregor is there. So everybody's going to watch that card. Like, and it was a great fight. Yeah, definitely that's up there in one of the favorite ones for sure.
Yeah. And one that a lot of people maybe don't know about, but very early on in your career, you have a first round knockout victory over now light heavyweight Thiago Santos, which looks amazing if you look through your catalogue.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fight. At that time, he fought welterweight, I believe.
Yeah.
Some places say that it was middleweight, but I don't remember if it was actually welterweight or maybe a catchweight at the moment. I don't remember, but yeah, we fought at that time. It was a tough fight. He was 7-0, and I remember I didn't know who I was fighting against. And once I got there to the fight, weigh-ins, I arrived late, so I weighed in after everyone. I didn't see Thiago, and I only saw him in the cage the day of the fight. Once I saw him, I looked back at my coach and like, man, what fight did you put me on? This guy's a giant. And I just felt like I needed to finish that fight as quick. I didn't want to get hit by that guy, and it paid off. I think it was a 15 or 20-second knockout. It was really early in the first round, and I definitely don't want to rematch with him ever again. He's a big guy now. That's not going to happen.
100%. Well, let's stick to your division, welterweight, because the title is booked. February 13th, we will see Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns, and they are two people that you have trained with. I believe you're very good friends with Gilbert as well, so I presume that you are expecting a Burns win.
Yeah, definitely. I expect Burns to win. I'm going to be cornering him for that fight, and I've trained with both of them. Kamaru has no doubts. I mean, at this moment, he is the most dominant champion. I think if I compare him, against Woodley, man, Kamaru is so complete. He has everything. He has the cardio. He has high pace striking. He has high pace wrestling. He has a good ground game because he trains gi jiu-jitsu. So not many wrestlers do gi jiu-jitsu. I believe he's a black belt right now. If I'm not mistaken, he's a black belt. So it's maybe one of the toughest champion in the UFC right now. And I do believe Gilbert is the guy to beat him. Why do I believe that? Gilbert is a guy that brings the ground game. if Kamaru wants to take him down, is not that kind of guy that you're just gonna sit on top of him, ground and pound him, 5 rounds. Gilbert's gonna be looking for submissions, looking to take her back. If he has the opportunity, he'll get up. And once they are in striking, I think Gilbert has a little bit of the edge. I think he has, he's more explosive. He's quicker with his hands, and he has a hard right hand. So if it connects, I believe he can get the knockout. And on the ground game, I think he has the edge as well. Wrestling is the only place where I really, you got to give it to Kamaru. He has the better wrestling. But, if Gilbert can do better standing and can do better on the ground, what's the wrestler going to do? Maybe stall him, but not much more than that. So overall, I think, Gilbert matches up really well to take that fight. It's going to be a tough one, no doubt about it. But, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to be there watching and cornering Gilbert. So definitely it's going to be a good night.
Yeah, that'll be an amazing see for you to be able to sit back and watch the guys in your division fight for that title.
For sure.
Final question, Vicente, and then I'll let you go. In an ideal world, when do you want to get back in the cage next, and what does an ideal 2021 look like for you?
I think March makes a lot of sense for me. I still have time to have a good training camp, and I'm feeling great in training. I never kind of take a long time off. I'll take maybe 1 or 2 weeks off after my fights, but any other moment I'm training, I'm ready to go. So March for me makes a lot of sense. And 2021, I want to go for 3 fights. I always think it's possible. I always think I can go out there and fight more than everyone else. So 3 fights is kind of like a minimum for me. I think 3 fights is something I got to do. With the vaccine going on, hopefully in maybe in the middle of the year, everything is gonna start looking normal. So I want the crowds back. That would be something perfect for me. 2021 fighting with the crowd back. That would be, I think, ideal. So 3 fights and crowd back.
Superb. That sounds like an amazing plan to me. Vicente, before we finish, how can people find you on social media?
So they can just look Instagram. It will be Luque Vicente, and everywhere else, Facebook, Twitter. Just put Vicente Luque MMA. You're gonna find me, and yeah, I'm not that super active, but whoever wants to follow me, I'll put some things that I like to do, and mostly training. That's what I do the most. So you'll see a little bit of that.
Superb. And before we finish, is there anything you'd like to say or sign off with at all?
No, just thank you for the interview. Thank all the fans always for supporting me. I'm the kind of guy, I fight for the fans. I fight to bring excitement, and I appreciate to have the opportunity, to take the time to give back to the fans. Talk a little bit about my career and myself. Thank you.
Superb. Thank you for your time today, Vicente.